Уважаемые представители средств массовой информации, мы
Distinguished media representatives, we have
содержательные
just had substantive
российско-сьерра-леонские
Russian-Sierra
переговоры.
Leonean
У нас
talks.
единое мнение, что
We
сегодняшняя встреча
concur
весьма
that today's
своевременна
meeting has
и
been quite
подтверждает
timely,
обоюдный
and
настрой
it
на
confirms our
дальнейшее
mutual
укрепление
resolve
традиционно
to
дружественных
consolidate our
двусторонних
traditionally friendly
отношений
bilateral
на принципах
ties
равноправия
built on
и
the
взаимного
principles of
уважения.
equality and mutual
Мы
respect.
обсудили
We
перспективные
have
направления
talked
нашего взаимодействия
promising
по двусторонней
domains of our
линии.
interaction
Особое
bilaterally,
внимание
with a
уделили
special focus
проектам, которые
on
сейчас
the
обсуждаются между
projects that are
соответствующими
now
ведомствами
mooted
в
between
сфере
some
энергетики и добычи полезных
agencies and
ископаемых. У наших
companies on
друзей есть
energy
еще
and
интерес
minerals
в
production,
наращивании
and our friends
сотрудничества
have
в области
cooperation to beef up.
здравоохранения. У нас
Have
богатый
interest
опыт у
in beefing
Российской
up
Федерации
cooperation
взаимодействия
in
с африканскими
healthcare,
странами,
and the Russian
в
Federation
том
has a lot
числе в
of
Западной Африке,
expertise in dealing
в сфере
with
борьбы с
African
инфекционными
countries, including West Africa,
заболеваниями,
fighting
сотрудничество
infectious
между
diseases
санитарно-эпидемиологическими
and
службами, и мы,
cooperation
конечно
between
же,
sanitary
сможем уделить
services
внимание
is also something
тем
we know a lot
вопросам,
about, and
которые были
definitely will be
поставлены
able
нашими друзьями из Сьерра-Леоне.
to accommodate
Договорились
the
продолжить
issues that have been
работу
set
над
forth
расширением
by our friends from Sierra
договорно-правовой
Leone.
базы.
We have agreed
Несколько
to
важных
enhance
документов находятся
and
в стадии
expand
переговоров.
our legal framework. Several
Уверен, что мы скоро
important
завершим работу над
instruments
ними.
are now
И
being
наши коллеги также
considered, are in the
выразили заинтересованность в
stage of talks.
привлечении
We'll shortly
российских
finalize work
инвесторов
on them, I'm sure,
в
and
экономику
our
Сьерра-Леоне
friends
для
have shown
реализации
interest in
взаимовыгодных проектов.
attracting
Гуманитарная сфера
Russian
традиционно
economic
является
actors in the
одной
economy of
из
Sierra
приоритетных.
Leone. Humanitarian sphere
Многие
is one of our
сьерра-леонцы
priorities.
учились и
Lots of
продолжают учиться в
Sierra
нашей стране, в
Leoneans
Советском Союзе и в Российской
studied and keep
Федерации.
studying in our
Мы
country, in
подтвердили
the
нашу
USSR times and
готовность увеличить
currently,
количество
and we have
стипендий, которые
confirmed our
российское
readiness
правительство
to
ежегодно
increase the number of
предоставляет
scholarships provided
этой стране.
by the government of this country.
Взаимодействие у нас
Foreign
имеет очень
and
добрые
international
давние
affairs
традиции. С
interaction of
2002
ours
года действует
has
протокол, в соответствии с которым мы проводим
had a long-lasting
регулярные
tradition
консультации между
basing
Министерством
on the
иностранных
protocols
дел
of
по актуальным
2002
вопросам
on
региональной,
consultations between our
международной
foreign ministers
повестки
and
дня,
relevant
включая
issues of international
деятельность
and
Организации
regional
Объединенных
agendas,
Наций.
including the United
Сьерра-Леоне
Nations matters.
в
Sierra Leone
2024-2025
in 2024 and
годах
2025
является непостоянным членом Совета Безопасности
is
ООН.
a non-permanent
Первые
member of the UN
месяцы этого
Security
года
Council,
уже
and
позволили
the
нам
first
в
months of
очередной
this
раз
year
убедиться в
have
близости
proved once
наших
again
подходов, в совпадении наших
our
подходов по
approaches
ключевым проблемам,
are
которые
close
стоят на
or
повестке дня
coinciding
Организации
on
Объединенных
key
Наций.
matters
И
of the
сегодня мы
UN
договорились
agenda,
продолжать координировать наши
and
шаги
we
и в ООН
agreed
в
today
целом,
to
и
keep coordinating
в
our
Совете Безопасности в частности, тем более,
our
что
policies
в июле
at the UN and in
председателем
the
Совета
Security Council in
Безопасности будет
particular.
Россия, а в
Russia is
августе
to
мы
hold the
передадим
presidency in July this year, and in
палочку
August we
нашим
will
друзьям из
hand
Сьерра-Леоне.
over to the
Говорили
Sierra
про
Leonean
ситуацию
friends of ours. We
Сахаро-Сахельском
also
регионе,
talked about the
в Мали,
Sahara-Sahel
Буркина
region in
Фасо,
Mali,
Нигере,
Burkina Faso,
Чаде.
Niger,
Мы
Chad.
заинтересованы в том, чтобы
It's in our interest
западноафриканские страны
that Western
сохраняли
African countries should
нацеленность на
maintain
обеспечение
their
своего
resolve
суверенитета, своих интересов
to
в общении с
uphold
внешним
their
миром,
sovereignty
чтобы
and defend their interests.
устранялись
In the international arena,
колониализма,
want the
неоколониализма,
relics and the remnants of the
неоколониализм
neocolonialism to be eliminated and eradicated. Sometimes we can see the manifestations in the presence of some of the former mother countries or parent countries thereof on the African continent, and we talked about that today, and definitely we want to see the implementation and practice of the principal African problems need African solutions. There is a great deal of conflicts and crisis in Africa, and sometimes external players trying to offer their help cater to their own self-serving interests, which is not in the interest of the Africans. So we advocate for the African Union and some of the sub-regional entities on the continent to assume the bulk of the responsibility, and the international community should be backing the decisions made by the Africans themselves. And in similar vein, we talked about the UN Security Council reform process. The main overarching goal, as we see it, is the eradication of the historical injustice and improvement of the representation by Africa, Asia and Latin America within this principal body in charge of international peace and security. We cooperate very well on the implementation of the two summits of the accords reached of the two summits of Russia-Africa. The latter was held in July last year, and this year the first foreign ministers meeting will be held between the Russian minister and the African countries' foreign ministers in November in Russia, and we expect our African friends to be duly represented. We confirm our gratitude for the principled stance of Sierra Leone on the matters around the Ukrainian situation that emerged as a result of the hybrid war that had long been sponsored by the West in order to weaken our country and jeopardize our security and deprive millions and millions of Russian speakers of the Crimean Donbass of their legitimate rights. Opposing all the years of accords reached with the participation and engagement of the West and Ukraine, nothing was done, which translated into the launch of the special military operation, and we are grateful to our African Sierra Leone in particular friends for their well-balanced, well-thought-over position for understanding the root causes of that situation. I'm quite pleased about the outcomes of today's talks, and I yield to my friend and counterpart.
It
is my pleasure to be here. It is a historic moment.
Во-первых, я приехал в Россию студентом 2004 года. Я в Санкт-Петербурге, в Санкт-Петербургском государственном институте я отучился специальности инженера по области добычи и разработки нефти и газа. И сегодня я очень рад быть здесь, чтобы способствовать углублению и укреплению сотрудничества между нашими странами. А еще сегодня я хотел бы поздравить президента Владимира Путина с уверенной победой и его сегодняшней инаугурацией. И пожелать ему и всему народу, российскому народу дальнейшего процветания. I'm very happy to be in the Russian Federation. It gives me the greatest delight as a product of the Russian Federation myself. Several years ago, I came to this country as a teenager, and I got educated. I got employed by Rosneft and Lukoil, and today I'm a proud ambassador of Sierra Leone as Minister of Foreign Affairs. I'm very proud of the Russian Federation because it gave me the opportunity to do what I'm doing today. Myself and my colleague, we've had a very fruitful discussion today, discussing on many issues on bilateral and multilateral issues. We spoke about the support of the Russian Federation to developing the human capacity of Sierra Leone through scholarships from the 1960s to today. We also spoke about the support of the recent support of the Russian Federation in providing 100 vehicles for garbage cleaning in the Republic of Sierra Leone. We also spoke about the support of the Russian Federation to Sierra Leone through the World Food Programme. We also spoke about the support of the Russian Federation to Sierra Leone during our Ebola crisis. We also spoke about the need for the Russian Federation to support Sierra Leone in its aspiration for food security. My colleague and I spoke about the need for Russian investment in Sierra Leone. At the moment, investment is almost minimal. We want to use our political cooperation, our bilateral relation to heighten our economic possibilities. Today, I'm here. We also spoke about our multilateral cooperation. I want to thank the Russian Federation for voting for Sierra Leone as it aspired to become a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. There have been many cooperation and bilateral engagements that have culminated into support for many of the resolutions that are passed at the United Nations Security Council. And we've also spoken about the deterioration in security of West Africa and the Sahel. We spoke about the conflict between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. We spoke about the Palestine-Gaza conflict. We spoke about many global issues. It is now very clear that the Russian Federation is a very strong partner of the Republic of Sierra Leone. We will continue to work together, and incidentally, we're going to take the presidency of the United Nations Security Council immediately after the Russian Federation in August this year. We look forward to working together for international peace and security to ensure that nations like Sierra Leone will be independent through the support of each other in multilateral space. Thank you.
Now moving to questions, TASS, news agency.
Здравствуйте, уважаемые министры, агентство ТАСС,
Honorable ministers, good day. TASS News Outlet, Irina Gorshkova. Two questions today. The first question is to the Sierra Leonean minister. Many African countries, including yours, have been showing a lot of interest in the entry of Russian businessmen on the local markets. Is Freetown ready to provide a favorable context for the advent of Russian capital? And what steps are taken in this direction? What spheres, what domains do you think are the most promising for such cooperation? And the second question is for Minister Lavrov. Does Russia plan to establish a full mission in Sierra Leone? And in general, does Russia plan to open new missions, diplomatic missions in Africa this year? Well, new diplomatic missions on the African continent this year, well, including in Freetown. In Freetown, we expect to open it till the end of this year. All the necessary decisions have been made, and now we should deliver upon them. It is a practical matter. We are tackling
Thank you very much, and I think part of the solution to provide confidence for Russian business is the reopening of Russian embassy in Sierra Leone. The Russian embassy that is in Guinea-Conakry, that is accredited to Freetown, is already doing a very good work. Sierra Leone is a functional democracy with an executive government and a functional parliamentary system. Every agreement that is entered into by a private firm with the government of Sierra Leone is ratified through the House of Parliament. That gives investment security to Russian and all sort of investment that comes to Sierra Leone. So indeed, there is the enabling environment for Russian businesses. And as I speak, there is VI Holding, which is associated with Russian business, as a Russian business that is already operating in Sierra Leone. And there are many Russian businesses that are already on the verge of going to Sierra Leone. That is a testament of the enabling environment that exists for doing business in Sierra Leone.
Final question is from the Sputnik Newswire.
Многие западноафриканские страны подписали с
Western African countries
на строительство атомной электростанции. Не
signed
рассматривает
agreements
ли
with
Freetown
Rosatom to
такой
build
вариант для
nuclear power
решения
plants?
проблемы
Does Freetown
электроснабжения?
contemplate such an option in order to resolve the energy shortage?
Sierra Leone is presently undergoing energy crisis, and energy is the enabler of every economic development. What sort of energy that can develop our economy, whatever sort of energy it is, as long as it's environmentally friendly, Sierra Leone welcomes that. And we're looking forward to Russian investment in the energy sector in Sierra Leone for the development of our country. Thank you.
Я добавлю, мы договорились
Let me add a bit. We have
господином министром,
agreed with Mr.
что
Minister
соответствующие подразделения правительства Сьерра-Леоне сформулируют дополнительные пожелания для российских инвесторов различных отраслях, в том числе в сфере возможного сотрудничества по атомной энергетике и по мирному атому вне энергетических сферах. Такие предложения в этой и другой области, в других областях будут нам переданы, и мы обязательно организуем межведомственную проработку. Это много времени не займет.
contemplate these in the interagency format. It will not take a lot of time. You will know about the outcome shortly.